Hey, everybody. I just wanted to share some little insights with your CG. Of course, one of the things that I love about these times when we share them is that you get a little insight to kind of the cutting room floor on a message. And as I kind of prepared this particular message, I had a few things in mind. First of all, I recognize that in a house, we have different people that are threatened by a different one of these particular kinds of pressure. That some people aren't really, likely to give into peer pressure, and some aren't likely to give into ear pressure, although we all have to monitor what we listen to. And not everybody experiences fear. There's some young people that right now probably need to have some of their boldness curtailed, and maybe it was as they were maybe making some bad decisions before this quarantine, and now they're actually being required or forced to make better decisions. And so maybe the first question that you could ask yourself as I was kind of thinking through this is in your home, what threatens your family the most right now? What threatens your family the most right now? You can share that with your group. You can share it with your family. I think that you could really learn a great deal because I think all of us have a little bit of each of these, but I think that one of them probably really stands out to us. And so that was a really important part of the message. And I made a decision to kind of cut off the end of the text that talked about when they came out of the fire and that they didn't even smell like smoke. And really, that's an amazing idea. And I think that it's really a picture of heaven, right? That the stain of this earth that's kind of on us, that it doesn't actually follow us. That when we get to heaven, we've got a new body, a resurrected body, right? And it has been built, it's been constructed not with human hands. And so when we get to heaven, we won't even have any glimpse of the fire. Hell and sin and destruction, it'll be a distant memory for us at best. I'm not even sure that we're going to know that it exists because we're going to be operating in heaven, the most beautiful of beautiful places. And so that was one of the things one of the decisions that I had to make in the message. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about your expectations of heaven and hell, and really why you think that the gospel message is the only way to heaven. Maybe that's a good question for you, because there is a temptation to believe that you can somehow or another earn it. Remember that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had no ability to save themselves from the flames. That took the fourth one in the fire. Jesus Christ was the one that made the difference. And then I want to encourage you to think a little bit about the part of the message, and this was the part that really kind of stood out to me when I asked the question, is it possible that this disruption is really a disruption in the distractions that take our eye off the ball? That was really an important part of the message for me. And the reason why is because I really do feel like we have gotten so tricked into believing that the point of this life is to accumulate as much pleasure for ourselves as possible. And when I say pleasure, I'm talking about an earthly, physical pleasure. I'm not talking about a spiritual pleasure. Maybe we need to kind of reframe it and kind of look at it that way. But maybe you can ask yourself this question: in what ways have the gifts of God sometimes or somehow replaced God in your life? That they're a greater priority, that they get more of your attention, more of your affection, more of your worship? I think it's a really good question to ask and discuss in your group. And then finally, I want you to ask yourself this question: is it harder to stand in the midst of the subtle little temptations or the big ones? You see, I ask myself this sometimes if I make frequent trips to Africa to teach at our Bible college that you guys support, and sometimes right above there's a Burkina Faso, and Boko Haram, which is a Muslim terrorist group, has killed several Christians in Burkina Faso, and of course you've obviously heard about the ones that have been taking place in Nigeria. And I've asked myself before, if they came into a church and I had to choose whether or not I was going to deny Christ or I was going to get my head cut off, which would I do? And I'm like, you know what? In some ways, I think that getting my head cut off might be easier than some of the temptations that I face currently, because they're so very subtle. Now, I'm not sure about that, but why don't you discuss it? Why don't you talk about it in your group and ask yourself where your real allegiances are? And I hope those questions get you started. I know the CG Guide's going to be helpful. Thank you for tuning in every single week. God bless you. God bless your group. Don't stop meeting. Remain connected. It's not as much about content as it is about connection. And I know that sounds a little bit weird. What I mean is you can get content anywhere. You can go on the internet and find all kinds of great Bible Bible teaching moments, but don't neglect what happens when your group connects face to face. God bless you. Y'all have a great week.